Hey everyone, I'm Drew, aka Lotus and Can't Miss, your guild master. Season 3 is here, and we've been assaulting Manaforge Omega for a few weeks now. We're doing great, and I want to lay out some changes from Season 2 that I'm excited about for Season 3 and how we handle raids, loot, and Mythic Plus in the guild. Whether you're coming back after a break, brand new, or a seasoned veteran, this is your chance to hear what we've got planned and how to make the most of the season. I want to lead by saying thank you to everyone who filled out our Season 2 survey. The officers and I read through all your feedback, and we hope you'll see the changes here attempt to address some of the issues that were raised. We'll be doing a similar survey as Season 3 comes to a close, so we can prepare to do it better for you when Midnight launches. Alright, first up, Mythic Plus. For those of you who are new to this, or maybe you haven't tried Mythic Plus yet or a whole lot, don't worry, we've got you. Quick reminder, each key needs exactly 5 players, a tank, a healer, and 3 DPS. For me, I'll be healing most of the time, and Cher, or Vistine, my wife, will be tanking the keys that I run. Filling out the other 3 DPS slots can be a bit tricky, especially when you factor in things like Bloodlust, Battle Res, interrupts, the key level we want to tackle, etc. But don't stress. We'll be keeping everyone updated in guild chat, adjusting as needed. And there are also several other tanks and healers who ran keys in Season 2, who've joined the guild and have been running keys already this season and doing a great job. So speak up if you're looking to run a key, and let's fill in some spots. Want to also talk about running your own keys? Because I can't stress this enough. You should try it. Even if you've never done it before, start a key and post in guild chat like, hey, I'm running my Priory +3, I'm a healer, do you want to join? If no one jumps in right away, that's okay. Just list it in the LFG tool, grab some pugs, and away you go. Couple tips here. Be teachable. Early in the season, we're all trying to figure out the new dungeons, routes, mechanics, even class changes. If someone offers you advice, try to take it graciously. Even if it's unsolicited, some of it will help. You learn faster and maybe even will make some friends along the way. Like many of you are our friends now, because we found you as pugs. Also, build your network. If you find reliable players and pugs, add them to your friends list and note their roles and performance in the little in-game note thing on your friends. Over time, you'll have a trusted community to run keys with consistently. And if someone fits in really well and you like them, feel free to invite them to the guild. Early in the season, as you've undoubtedly seen, we'll have more people online than we can fit in a single key. That's okay. It's better to run multiple groups or fill in with pugs than have people sitting idle in Dornigal. Our goal is to include as many guild members as possible to make sure everyone has a chance to participate. Which leads me to teamwork and positivity, which is huge. Mistakes will happen, we all know that. But remember, there's a real person behind every screen. If someone messes up, acknowledge it, then let it go and encourage them to improve. Also, if you haven't in the past, please consider doing some keys that are just for fun and aren't for score. Not everyone loves to push the envelope of what they're capable of every time they turn a key. Sometimes we just want to have fun. While we understand that you are proud of your accomplishments, everyone plays this game at their own pace. And sometimes, when people who are slower to progress hear people who are more advanced than them discussing their achievements, it can make them feel bad about themselves because they aren't able to do those things yet. So please try to be careful when publicly discussing your accomplishments, not to be overly boastful about them, as it can sometimes come off as braggy. Do your best to lift up those around you who aren't as progressed and help out your fellow guildies. I'm not saying you shouldn't be proud of your achievements, but try to be sensitive to the feelings of others. When offering advice, be polite. Ask if it's okay to give feedback. And if they say no, respect that. This applies to in-game actions, Discord, and guild chat. Staying constructive and encouraging makes everything smoother for everyone. Quick note about Discord etiquette. Please be mindful of the channels that are dedicated to Mythic Plus and Raid and other things. If a key is already running, whisper the members of that group, like who's in the channel, before you join them. Random messages and inactive Inactive channels can break concentration, especially during tough fights. If you're not in a key, hang out in the lobby or another space until you're ready to form up a group and head to a keys channel. Good luck out there in Mythic Plus. It's a great way to get gear, especially because for key level 6 and above, you can get hero level gear. At 7 and above, you get the crests that allow you to upgrade that hero level gear all the way to the top. And if you're able to complete 10s and above during the week, 8 of those will give you 3 mythic items in your weekly vault. So this is an amazing way to get loot and get your gear score up, outside of raiding. Let's talk about raids now. There are two primary changes, that I want to discuss. Invite eligibility and loot distribution. As always, the baseline requirement is for everyone to have a Discord setup that allows you to hear the raid leader. That's me, or Naughty. To start, we're going to restrict invites for Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday raids to a 660 item level minimum. This is around the item level required to enter LFR, and it should be easy even for any of your ults. Eye level 660 is the only eligibility requirement for the Sunday raids. For Tuesday and Friday progression raids, it's going to be a little different. While we're still progressing in normal, the 660 item level requirement will remain the only requirement. As of September 2nd, to be eligible for a heroic raid invite, you'll need a minimum of a 25% green Warcraft logs parse for 7 of 8 or 8 of 8 normal mode bosses. That's an average parse. There's a raid eligibility document that is posted right here in Discord that goes over the eligibility stuff in detail, including URLs to go to the guild calendar and go to the guild list and how to find your own scores and so you can keep yourself up to date on where you are with that. Once we complete heroic mode and advance into mythic, you'll need a minimum of a 50% blue Warcraft logs average parse for 7 of 8 or 8 of 8 heroic mode bosses. So basically we're looking for 25% in normal to go to heroic and 50% in heroic to go to mythic. All raids, those being Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday, are always live logged to Warcraft logs. I'm happy to help anyone learn how to record their own logs and upload them to the site if needs be. Just let me know. It's very easy to set up. Keep in mind that while you can only receive loot from each boss once per week, you can repeat kills of those bosses as many times as you'd like to adjust your parse up. You can record any pug raid you do and live log it or log it after the fact, and it will count against the guild average that we're looking for. So you're not limited to guild raids for generating or increasing your parses. Anytime you go in there, you can boost it up. Now, it is bound to the difficulty level, so you're not going to be able to go do really well in LFR and have that count for a heroic parse, for example. You have to go do well in heroic. But there are lots of pug groups running all the time, and we can also make some extra groups for the lower difficulties. If people are really struggling, I'm happy to go with folks and help get those groups going and get you an opportunity to, up your parses if you need that. Don't forget the Sunday raid, which it's always a simple 660 item level requirement. So if you're struggling to clear the parse requirements, that raid is there for you to have fun with the guild and drop some bosses. Again, I urge you to look at the document that outlines how to find out these numbers for yourself. It also includes some ways to potentially improve your parses if you're having trouble with that and you're under the requirements. There's great information in that document, so please give it a read. Now I'll move on to loot distribution in raids. Starting with the Sunday alt raids, the loot system there will always be need and greed. And all players are expected to set their loot specialization to the role they're filling. If you come as DPS, you're rolling on DPS items. Exceptions can be made to this rule at the discretion of the raid leader at the start of the raid. Now let's talk about the progression raids on Tuesdays and Friday nights. We heard a lot of feedback about the loot council system last season and how it was too slow and the add-on was annoying, so we're going to make some changes for the progression rate loot system to try to alleviate those things. First, we're going to separate the items into two classes, protected and non-protected. The protected items are weapons, the Rishi Wrap boots from the Demon Hunter boss. There's a similar Rishi Wrap ring from Dimensius, trinkets, and tier pieces. Everything else is a non-protected item. So whenever any loot is dropped in the raid, everyone will pass on every item, and the loot master will pick it all up. Then the loot master will list each item that is not protected. Call for need rolls first, then off spec, then transmog like the progression normally goes, if no one's interested in needing or off specking the item. The high roll on need wins the item. It's immediately distributed to that player, and there are no limits on how many non-protected items you can win in a night. At the end of the night, we will distribute the protected items in this order: weapons, Rishi boots, Rishi ring, trinkets, tier pieces. The loot master will link all the items in the order they'll be rolled on, so everyone is reminded of what is dropped. Then, the loot master goes through each item one at a time, and it'll work like this. The item is linked by the loot master. Everyone interested shows that they're interested by linking the item they'll be replacing with a new item if they win it. If they want to sim or remove themselves from the running, this is the time to do that. So if you see an item and you want it, but you know it's a side grade for you, and you see someone else who's replacing a champ item with a hero item, you know it will be a really big upgrade for them, and you decide, you know what, I'm going to let them have it, you can withdraw yourself from saying you're interested in the item, and then you will not be considered. So we're going to do that at the end here, once everyone puts in their interest items in the chat, and then there'll be a 5-second countdown, at the end of which we'll look at the distribution roster to figure out who is going to win the item. There's no rolling. The distribution roster is effectively a line we all stand in. When more than one person is interested in an item, the loot master checks to see who's at the front of the line. Then they get the item, and they're moved to the back of the line immediately before the next item is considered. This distribution roster will be a public Google Doc that's updated as we raid, and everyone can look at it. It's publicly available. We also have a list of what items dropped, who won them, in what order they were won in the night, and what the date was, so you can go back and look at the whole history of who won what and when, if you'd like to. There'll be 2 tabs on one Google document. We believe this system will provide a more deterministic way for players to win items. So if you don't win an item for a while, or you pass on items for a few raids, then you get to the front of the line. You can always see where you are on the line, and you get your pick of the next item that drops that you want, because you haven't gotten anything for a while. That's what we mean by deterministic. You can tell if you're going to win the next item. Now, we're also expecting this system will pretty evenly spread the items out across the raid, which is really what we're looking to do. As I said earlier, please run as much Mythic Plus as you can to try to get hero items in most, if not all, of your slots as soon as you can. That will really help with the heroic grade progression. This updated loot system will only be in place until October 7th, which is 6 weeks out from the beginning of the season. And at that point, we'll have 3 catalyst charges, and then potentially the extra one from 2K and any tier that might have dropped. And so at that point, actually it might be more like 7 weeks out. At that point, the competition for many of these items should be low, and we'll just switch to a need greed system for everything, just to keep it as fast as possible. When we get to mythic raids, we're going to reevaluate how we handle loot. There are some players that will likely come back to us who are off in their own home guilds doing heroic raiding right now with that group, and then a lot of those groups, as soon as they get AOTC, they stop for the season, and those players want to keep raiding, and they come and play with us. Think Maddie and Gus, think Mornbow and his priest friend Kurt, whose player name I'm forgetting right now. But anyway, we're going to have at least 4, if not 6 or 8 players that come raid with us for Mythic that are not going to be in the heroic raids. And so we need to figure out how we're going to handle loot distribution when we bring those people back in. I'd like to talk a minute about raid etiquette. During the raid, during fights, please try to keep the chatter in voice to a minimum. If you have an important call out or want to bring a tactical detail to our attention, do so. But please try to keep the, "oh crap, I died, looks like it was this," to a minimum. It's important you find out why you died, and you want to try to avoid that next time. If you have a question about it, happy to answer it after the pull is over. But if you're in trouble and you're worried about it, but you're about to get squished by some big mechanic, flooding the chat with "oh shit, oh shit, oh shit" doesn't really help anybody. So let's try to keep the voice chat clear for the folks who are still alive and, you know, coordinating to try to complete the encounter if you died, for example. Also, if you have a tactical idea that you want to offer up in terms of like how we change how we're pulling a boss or what we're trying to do, I'm happy to hear those ideas, but please whisper them to me so we can briefly discuss them in private. I prefer those kinds of ideas are brought before the raid or after the raid, because we only raid for 2 hours. So if I spend half the raid talking to people about what we should do, we're going to lose a ton of time. If it's something that can be communicated quickly, we can do it during the raid. But before or after would be the preference. I also prefer written communication because there's a lot going on in raid, and a lot of times I'm busy doing 2 or 3 things, and if you start to talk to me, I may not be listening at all. And so writing it down is the best way. Then if I'm busy, I can wait until I complete whatever I'm working on and go look at what it is that you said. So please don't think it's, because I'm ignoring you or whatever. It's just there's a lot of call on my time. This goes for criticism of players who make mistakes also. Like, just whisper me and let me know if you see something, and I'm happy to address the issue with the player. We've had a few comments made in the last few raids about things that are going on, and I certainly want to be made aware of those things, but please just let me know, and I will take care of addressing any issues with the players that are making whatever mistakes we happen to be seeing. If a boss attempt doesn't go well for the same reason more than once, and you feel the urge to call it out or ask about it, give me a chance to address it in voice before you jump in and start asking questions. I assure you, I'm doing my best to address issues in between pulls, and sometimes I judge something that went wrong as something that we don't need to even talk about. Sometimes things happen, and there's no value in spending 2 or 3 minutes talking to somebody about a mistake that they're just not going to make again. So give me the chance to address high value items in voice before jumping in, because I promise you I'm prioritizing the feedback that I feel is important to give to the raid. It's not my first rodeo, so give me a chance to be a good raid leader before those of you who have raid led before, put your raid leader hat on and jump back in. I also want to make one last comment about preparation and research. I posted a bunch of guides in the raid strategy channel in Discord, which is also born of the feedback we got from the surveys. Please review that stuff in advance of the raids so you can come prepared. You really want to know boss mechanics, routes if you're in Mythic Plus, like what items you're aiming for, loot-wise, off of bosses. When I review a boss, it really should be review, not like the first time you heard about what the mechanics changes were for heroic or whatever. So that stuff is there for you guys to watch, videos that I'm using to base strategies on, and my notes about the very important parts that are in there, things I'm going to be repeating when we go to pull the bosses. So please give that stuff a look. Also, before raid, prepare your character. Enchants, gems, potions, although we provide those. Just like try to get your gear upgraded, ready to go. I know it sounds a lot like homework, but it really does help have a smooth raid if everyone comes ready to rock and roll when it's time to start. Finally, I just want to emphasize Season 3 is going to be an exciting chapter. Mistakes will happen, the learning curve exists, but if we stay respectful, helpful, and proactive, there's nothing we can't accomplish together. Thanks for being part of this guild. Let's hit the ground running in Season 3. Have fun, and remember, nothing can stop us now. Oh, something happened to my transmog? This hat looks weird.